Levack and Goz here with you on 104.5 The Team, and joining us now on the phone lines is the former head coach of the New York Giants, Jim Fassel. And, Coach, let's get things started with this. What's a day in the life like now for Coach Jim Fassel?
Well, I'm enjoying life. I mean, I talked to a lot of coaches around the league. I talked to people. My son, John, is the special teams coordinator at the Rams, doing a good job, and so I make most of those games over in Los Angeles. And I got another son that's at Snow College, and they're going to be in a bowl game, and I follow him the best I can, and enjoying life right now.
Let's stick with that conversation there involving your younger son, John Fassel. He stays on as the special teams coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, although there was a coaching change. Jeff Fisher is out as the head coach, John McVay is in, and that's pretty rare in the NFL. Why did your son want to stay on with the LA Rams staff?
Well, let's say this. I'll start with this, and then I'll explain it. He wanted to stay, and he had a year left on his contract, and teams called to talk to him, and they wouldn't let him out of his contract. And, I think that John is I talked to a lot of coaches around the league. We talk, and they say, John's the best special teams coordinator in the league. And by numbers, yeah, he is, by what their special teams do. And, a year ago, I was sitting at home. Adam Scheffner called me, and he said, Jim, have you heard anything from John? He said, no, I don't talk to him. I know that Jeff Fisher got fired. He said, well, the rumor is he's going to be the interim head coach, which he did the last 3 games. And so I follow him. He's done a great job there. And, I'm always excited to see him. I talk to coaches. I mean, Pete Carroll says, we don't know what the heck he's going to do. I mean, he got fake punts. He's got all kinds of stuff, trickery, and it works. So, he's doing a good job, and he'll have a long career in the NFL.
He's doing a great job. So you just set me up for this easy question. Let's say that name gets out there again. Let's say John Fassel somehow is being in the mix for a head coaching job. Could he get his dad to come out of retirement and help him on his staff?
Oh, I don't know. We'd have to work that one out. It'd be a great opportunity. Because the one thing I never did, I never pulled him up through the ranks. He's going to earn it himself. I didn't promote him to other people and stuff. That'd have to be a tough question. If he was serious about it, yeah, I'd seriously look at it. And but the thing is, people don't look at special teams coordinators as next head coach. Yet they handle more players than the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. They do. And then the one thing I'll use as an example is John Harbaugh at the Baltimore Ravens, who's won a Super Bowl. He's been a very good coach, outstanding coach. He was a career special teams guy and realized that I'm not getting a look being a special teams guy, so he asked Andy Reid, could I move over? You got an opening in the secondary. So he's coaching the secondary 1 year, not the coordinator, 1 year, and he gets a job based on that. So, I think, people open their eyes and say, wait a minute, this guy's doing a good job on special teams. He's handling more players than either other side. I mean, you got to look at this guy.
Absolutely.
So I hope they do.
I hope so as well here. Coach Jim Fassel joining us here on the phone lines on 104.5 The Team. So let's go back to your time as the head coach of the New York Giants. Take us back to that moment that's now become famous of you hitting the podium and predicting your team going to the playoffs. What gave you confidence that your team was going to go that deep?
Well, as anything, I had confidence in them, and we'd lost a couple games. And Detroit at home was not a good win, and I needed to shake some things up. And so, the players had my back all the time. I knew that, and that's most important of a coach. You got my back, okay? And so the thing that really shook it up was our special teams most valuable player from the year before, Bashir Livingston, and he earned it the year before, and he was playing terrible. And he made a number of mistakes against Detroit. And the next morning, I cut him. And I had the right to do it because that was in my contract. I controlled the final 53. And I cut him. And then I had a meeting with just the special teams players, and I said, I'm going to cut 2 of you every week if we don't play better. And, hey, I know a couple of rookie linebackers went to Michael Strahan and Jesse Armstead and said, what did he say to you guys? He said he's going to cut 2 of us each week if we don't play better. and I'll have the whole thing emptied. And Michael Strahan said, the man is on a mission. Don't screw with him, okay? He will do that, okay? And then we won, 8 straight games, went to the Super Bowl. But, sometimes, as a coach, you can't, you got to sit back and get away from it. And not just be in the room and X's and O's and plays. And you need about an hour. I always try to take about an hour every day to say, what do I need to do to motivate this team to play good? What do I need to do? And it always worked. And I think that's the missing link with some guys that their first head job on offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, they want to stay in the room and draw plays and all that. The head coach has got to set the tempo.
When you have moves like that in an organization, they can definitely be polarizing. You could be cutting guys, and they could be friends with maybe a starter, maybe a veteran, and all of a sudden the locker room environment could change. We look at a team now in the New York Giants, and we continue to hear conversations about the locker room, whether Ben McAdoo's lost the locker room with Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie having issues and Janoris Jackrabbit Jenkins. How does Ben McAdoo get control of the locker room back?
Well, it's late in the game for that, okay? I developed close relationships with the guys I needed to, okay? Keith Hamilton, okay? He was a big, he controlled that locker room. Michael Strahan, Jesse Armstead, those guys. I developed a great rapport with them. And I said, gentlemen, you got to let me know what's going on in the locker room behind my back. Okay, what are the players talking about? What's going on? And you need to develop a real strong rapport, one-on-one, with your leaders in that locker room so they got the message and they can send it. Okay? And you're not going to have time to get all 53 guys one at a time, but you get your leaders. And they did. They did control that locker room. And if anything was going down, they told me. And it wasn't something that they shouldn't say. They're just helping me do my job and win.
The former head coach of the New York Giants, Jim Fassel, joins us here on the phone lines on 104.5 The Team. So the New York Giants now in a spot where it looks as if they're very far in a contention for a playoff spot. They're looking more towards a top pick in the NFL draft, but there's still games to be played left in the season. How should a coach handle a situation like this where it's almost you're doing your best to win games, but also looking towards the future and trying to develop young talent?
Well, I think as a head coach, you try to, you might have a lot of individual talks with players that, here's what I need you to do. I need you to do this better, that better, and be a leader in the locker room, keep me abreast, and try to motivate them that way. But, it's interesting. My first year there, okay, I took over the Giants. We were the only team unanimously picked by every sporting news, whatever it was, that we're going to finish last place. Everybody. And I thought, oh, boy, this is going to get rough, I guess, if they're right. And so I figured out, and I looked at it. Dick Vermilius and I had talked a lot. The number one determinator, if you're winning and losing, is the turnover ratio. I can't change all the personnel, okay? And I don't have any magic plays or magic defenses. So what is it? And it's turnover ratio. And that year, we were the only team, like I said, to finish unanimously last. We ended up being the first team to go undefeated in the NFC East. And how did we do it? Okay, I made my number one thing, turnover ratio. Turnover ratio. I made my coaches every day from training camp through the season that the defense would work on stripping the ball and a fumble and the offensive guys, tucking the ball away and all that stuff. We ended up with a plus 26, and we went undefeated. And right now, today, I was looking at it the other day, of the top 10 teams right now, all winning records, okay, 9 out of those 10 teams are winning the turnover ratio. They have a plus.
Wow.
You go to the bottom 10 teams with the worst records, okay, 9 out of 10 teams have the lowest turnover ratio. They're giving the ball up too much. Now, I've looked at it and I've studied it. That's not completely with this because the season isn't over. But if, every year teams that make the playoffs, and I've looked at this forever, there's only one, maybe two teams that get in the playoffs with a minus. And that minus is not big. It's like -1 or -2. Okay, so they're really close to even. But if you're down the road, and that's the only thing you can do at this juncture, just start rewarding guys for turnovers and prevent turnovers and all that. And then, you got a chance. It's too late in the game.
Right.
We started in the spring, went to training camp and the whole season. It may be a little late in the game to do that.
At the end of this season, the New York Giants ownership group is going to evaluate Ben McAdoo and decide whether or not he's the right guy for their future. And he could look and say, look, I've lost Odell Beckham Jr., I've lost a lot of impact players to injury, and the team that I had in November, December was not the team we projected to have in September and October. Is that a way that he can keep his job, or does ownership groups and management not take those as good enough excuses?
I don't think they do, because my last year there, with I think 5 or 6 games to go, we had 9 offensive linemen on the roster. And with 5 or 6 games to go, or 7 or whatever it was, I don't remember, we only had one of them left.
Oh my goodness.
And that's when we lost Kerry Collins. We couldn't block for him, and he got hurt, and finally he couldn't play. And so, it's just, hey, belly up to the bar, man. I don't want to hear any excuses. We either get it done or we don't get it done.
He is the former head coach of the New York Giants, Jim Fassel. Coach, we appreciate you taking some time with us here in Albany in the Capital Region. We hope to talk to you again in the near future. And if your son all of a sudden starts finding his name in the mix for a head coaching job and he gets that offer, don't be surprised if you get called back from Albany from us, Levack and Goz, to find out whether or not you're coming out of retirement.
All right, that'd be great. That'd be awesome.